Located in the upper North Dark, about 2 miles below the Suberan Valley, between the Moonwood and the Frost Hills, we find one of the most notorious cities in the Underdark, Menzoberranzan.
It's been a while since I last saw Menzoberranzan, or as some like to call it, the Flower of Lloth, but I shall do my best to describe it, and its history. The city is located in a huge arrowhead-shaped cavern, some 2 miles wide and about 1,000 feet high. It is carved from calcite and is filled with blue, green, and violet fairy fire at all parts of the day. All the buildings are decorated with spider art, all in honor of their despicable god, the Spider Queen, Lloth. However, the first thing you would see entering the city is the pillar clock called Narbandel. Every morning I remember the Archmage would light up the pillar that would slowly fade throughout the day. When the light went out, it was called Narbandel's Black Death, and so the night began. The history of the city is one that you won't hear from many, but I studied it while I lived there and found the true story. The Drow are very proud of their history, but seldom care if it is true. The Bainra witches would have you think the city was birthed by the eternal Ivaniel Bainra from the beginning of time, but I have heard the truth of the matter. It is said that a powerful priestess of Lloth, High Priestess Menzoberranzan, the Kinless, founded the city that bears her name about 4,000 years before Dale Reckoning. Guided by Lady Lloth, she led 7 Drow families from the city of Golathir, a Drow city in the south, into the North Dark. They left Golathir to escape from the constant warring between factions who venerated Lloth and those that worshipped Gonadur. Lloth aided the settlers via dream sendings, but, often as not, sent them into conflict to test their strength. After battling several of the Underdark natives, they slew a great beholder along with his minions. Upon the death of the beholder, Lloth sent one of her servants to appear in front of the survivors, claiming that a great city would be founded on this battlefield, and they should name this city after their leader, Menzoberranzan. The original 7 Drow families, having no immediate external enemies, of course fell to attacking and undermining one another. I expect Lloth took great joy in this, as a divine being who loves chaos. A mere 50 years after the city's founding, a great and terrible battle between the 2 most powerful houses, House Nasadra and House Thayala, occurred. This battle led to the collapse of a cavern wall that destroyed the 4 most powerful houses, as well as killing Menzoberranzan. The perpetrators, House Nasadra, were then attacked by House Sisril, and House Bainra chose to side with them against Nasadra. House Nasadra was banished from the cave on the orders of Lloth, who bade them establish a second city in her name. The city's internal machinations continued unabated for millennia. The houses that grew weak were destroyed, and newer houses rose up to curry Lloth's favor. The full history of each house would constitute a nearly endless logbook of treachery, spite, and unceasing ambition. In the last 300 years, this pattern seems to have sped up. Hopefully we will see the entire cavern collapse very soon, and Menzoberranzan turned into a pile of stone. First of their problems was the fall of House Duerden. They had some traitor son named Drizzt, a prodigal son, master of the blades, but who decided to turn away from Lloth and rebel against the matriarchy. He fled the city and shamed his entire family. After he escaped, the other houses quickly removed the Duerdens to hide their shame and to avoid the wrath of Lloth. During the time of troubles, the Lady of Chaos visited the city and showed their citizens that House Bainra was her chosen house by destroying their rival, House Obladra. In 1358, the city marched on Mithril Hall and led the attack that would come to be known as the Battle of Keeper's Dale. The Drow lost when Brunor Battlehammer took out matron Ivaniel Bainra herself. This loss weakened the city greatly and caused more infighting between the ruling houses. With the escalating battles of the houses, the city was on the brink of destruction until the Peace of Lloth was established in 1361. The peace lasted for 11 years, before being followed by the Silence of Lloth, a time when the goddess stopped answering prayers from her followers. Great upheaval was brought upon the city during that time. A slave uprising occurred, led by an Alhun. This was followed almost immediately with an attack on the city from two sides, a Dwergar army led by King Horger Steelshadow, and another army led by the half-demon Caner Vok. The armies laid siege to the city for several months. Once the Silence of Lloth ended, the Drow managed to gather up their troops and drove the invaders off, but once again Menzoberranzan was weakened by the struggles it had brought upon itself. This was about a century ago, and I left Menzoberranzan shortly after. I don't know much about what happened to it during the Spell Plague, but I have heard the tales of what it is today. They claim that once more the city is at the peak of its power. Quinthel Bainra, a drow so wicked it is said she sours Rothe milk by her mere presence, still holds the title as Mistress of Erak Tinalith. Her brother, Gromf Bainra, continues to hold the title of Archmage and Master of Sorcerer. And unfortunately for everyone else, a century without war has left the place with an extraordinarily strong army, a very large quantity of gold, and an itch for expansion.
And so we wrap up our tale of Menzoberranzan, but I think we need to revisit the Drow at a later stage. The Underdark is so fascinating, with interesting places and people. The Cleric of Ogma recently came to visit. We had a long talk, but he left me with a riddle. Books are where we store knowledge. Only through likes, shares and subscribes can wisdom be spread. I haven't quite figured this one out yet, but if you can crack it, let me know.